soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns. I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee. Ye that fear the I am, praise him. All ye seed of Jacob, glorify him. Fear him, all ye seed of Israel. For he hath not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, neither hath he hid his face from him. But when he cried unto him, he heard. My praise shall be of thee in the great congregation. I will pay my vows before them that fear him. The meek that shall eat and be satisfied, and they that praise the I am shall seek him. Your heart shall live forever. And all the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the I am, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. For the kingdom is the I am's, and he is the governor among the nations. And all they that be fat on the earth shall eat and worship, and they that go down to the dust shall bow before him, and none can keep alive his own soul. A seed shall serve him. It shall be counted to the I am for a generation. They shall come and shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born, that he have done this. Psalms chapter 22, verses 20 to 31. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. And we always thank and praise the Most High. We thank him for how he delivered us, how he caused us to rise above our enemies, how he caused us to eat bread this morning and this evening and this afternoon. Yes, we thank God for those things. We thank God for how he have filled our coffers with those things that are good. And we thank God that he have overcome our enemies, and even those that call themselves jealous of us. Yes, we thank and praise you, O most holy Yahuwah, for all that you've done, for you have been gracious and even merciful unto us. Yes, and in your mercy you have caused us to rise above our adversity in many areas and many situations. We just thank you for all the things that you have done. Yes, our reflection of you is nothing but good. Yes, even when the evil have seemed like it overcome us, you still came and you delivered us from our affliction and our distress. And we thank you for these things. Yes. And with the hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have been with us there, here's about, and we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed. Yes, we praise the Most High for you, and those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises to the Most High, who inhabits all things. Yes, he does. Hallelujah. We're in the book of 1 Samuel. We remember 1 Samuel 20. Yes, we're in 1 Samuel 20, but it's going to be called 1 Samuel 21. And we stopped with verse 25, ending with, because the way that Saul lashed out at his son Jonathan, who was a great and mighty man. But one thing, even these men in their manhood, regardless of how their fathers treated them, they were men. They respected their father regardless, just as they respected their mothers. They know it's different. Some of you you've gone the way you've chosen your mother over your father because your father doesn't act like your mother. He's not going to act like your mother. He's your father. He has a certain way he does things, and she has a certain way she does things. Stop being effeminate. Learn your father. Even those of you that might be in your low teens that are listening to this, obey your father. Understand him, know him. He's going to tell you the way that he's gone. And if even in his bitterness, you learn from that also. Even with your mother, the way she acts sometimes. Learn from that. Not to be bitter against them, but it's a learning curve right there. because God is going to use you eventually, and he's going to cause you to rise above your enemies. Whether he don't have to use you just talking about this Bible and stuff like that. He can use you in business. He can use you in invention. He can use you in all manner of things, just as he used them back in the days when they came up with the temple. He had some he had given in their head to just, be able to make things, to draw things, to sculpt things, to artifice things, even gold, silver, and all manner of metals. Yes, to make weapons or whatever God would do for you to enhance your company, your family, your country, your city, your continent. Yes, do these things and God will be with you. Yes, but either way, I digress. Ooh, it's something that when we notice our potential, and we were in verse 35, we said because his father had done, verse 34, his father had done him shame in the way that he did. He called his mother a whore and all these other things, because he was mad at him. Dad, there's no way to be like that. Why are you that's just like her coming against your dad because he's not there and calling him, you son of a no good man and all this other stuff. No. You put the son to shame because he's a representative of both the mother and the father. This child is. Whatever's in him by DNA or by learning or the learning curve, it is representative of you, man and woman. You cause this child to have a complex and all these other things, regardless of whether you're together or apart. Never put down his mother or the father. Many times you tell the child, hey, love your mother, obey your mother. Whatever you do for good for her. And the mother should do likewise. Do for your father. But we've grown selfish. Selfish, jealous, and vindictive. You leave that vindictive thing to God. You just sit up there and you do what God say do. I mean, maybe you separated or whatever. It doesn't matter. God got that. But you need to get that child. That's what you need to do. Get that child. That child might grow up straight and healthy mentally. Now, he done him shame. And it came to pass in verse 35, I'm reading, in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad went with him, and he said to this lad, run, and find how the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot the arrow beyond him. And when the lad had come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the lad and said, is not the arrow beyond thee? And Jonathan cried after the lad, make speed, haste, and stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything. In other words, a young boy, could have been 10, 12, 13, whatever, a young boy. This is what he was. He says now, and Jonathan's lad gathered up arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything, only Jonathan and David knew the matter. And Jonathan gave his artillery unto the lad, and that's just the arrow. You have artillery. If you got bullets, sword, knives, or whatever, this is what you would call artillery. You're dealing with the Old English language. See, this is what you're going to have to understand. It can be ambiguous at times because some people make the Old English mean what they want it to mean in order to get across their own opinions toward you. Now, and Jonathan gave his artillery or his ammunition to this lad or Ariel and said unto him, go carry them to the city. Carry these bows and arrows up there. And as soon as the lad was gone, David rose out of a place toward the south and fell on his face to the ground and bowed himself 3 times and they kissed one another and wept with one another until David exceeded. In other words, they bowed themselves to the ground 3 times before the I am. They kissed one another as you would do. You would see those in the Arab countries kiss each other like, this is what their tradition. Where did they get that from? They got it from the ancient Arabs and Hebrews. Yes, they did. Or should I say the children of Shem, but this was their tradition. So you have to realize these things these people did not do these things. They were so accustomed to seeing in the lands that they were in until the time that God says, well, you're going to become the tail and they're going to become the head because of your sin. That you might be chastised and learn to be obedient. Now, they have a thing to pay with God, but we right now see that this was a tradition of the children of Shem, which now is occupied by, and even somewhat of, it's not really a tradition of the Hamites, but somewhat. Now, the tradition of the Hamites were, I'm not going to even get into that. It's so intricate and so much of a strong delusion to those who would follow the Most High. Yes, that you think that your history is connected to them. It is, but theirs is connected more so to you than you to them. Now, even though, but not their idolatry. You learned idolatry mainly from them through the years, the 200 and something years of degradation, and then the other 200 years of being friendly and exchanging ideas and stuff. Now, and the lad knew not anything. Now it says as soon as the lad was gone, they kissed each other and wept with one another. In other words, it was just, I'm sad to see you go, man. I'm sad to see you go. Man, we had so many things planned. It ain't about no running women, young man. It's bad, man. We got wars to fight, things to do. We trying to do these things. We got villages we need to protect and lands we need to get these Philistines out of. Yes. And they knew the bravery of each one and that each one had the same idea for their country. And Jonathan said to David, go in peace, for as much as we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the I Am, saying, the I Am be between me and thee, be between my seed and thy seed forever. And he rose up and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. That's the end of chapter 20. Chapter 21, we're going to. Now they had came. I mean, this is a brotherhood. This is like death. When you grew up together. So they mostly grew up together. He respected David because he knew David was not a coward. But not a coward, not in the least. Wasn't afraid of any animal or any man. No. Verse 21, and then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech, the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee? Apparently the message got to Ahimelech that Saul was seeking Ahimelech. And plus he knew the valiantry of David. And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and hath said to me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what is there present? In other words, Saul set out spies to find out the whereabouts of David. That's what he did. Verse 4, and the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. In other words, any seed, any bodily fluids that come from you deems you unclean. And this is where you seek the healing of the Most High. Yes. And to be with a man being with a woman, apparently he has to wash. And then this is seed and semen and all these other things that have come out. And it's mainly their wives, not no just fornication. This is wives. Okay, they were married, but their marriage, their loving and their kindness was more. See, back then the relationship between man and woman and families was different because the man had to leave home a lot, either for war or to seek something to enhance his family, to raise his children, make sure they eat, and all these things. Now, if you go to most of the African countries, you'll see they practice the same things even today. You have some come way over here to the United States, and they have families over there on the continent of Africa, whatever country they come from. And the woman is waiting there patiently, and the man is patiently keeping himself. Now, in some cases, no, they want to, and it's permissible in some African cultures to have more than one wife, whether they marry here in the United States, which they do not acknowledge the marriage over there in the African country. So, therefore, he has to show proof that he's married, in his country also. But many of them shun that and marry a woman here to get a green card and have a wife way over there. So it's a whole mix-up. Some because of their own desire to have a woman under them, and it's no sin that they should have a second wife, but the part comes is deception. That is the deceitfulness of it. If you're going to have that second wife, you should have approval of that wife that you married way overseas, man, where you come from. And the same thing with you, man, from the United States. You go away to Africa and you are already married, and here you would have married another woman over there in Africa. Then you have some of them there of a different hue, and they go and say they're going to marry, and these women think that the whiter nations got more money, and some of them just as poor as dirt. You done lost your mind. They done fooled you. You just saying, oh, they're white, they're right. But no, that's not the case. Or you might take in a black American and you say, hey, this American he got some money. No. Our standards here in America is we can be poor here, but yet we would seem to have money on your continent. But that's the case is just like that. We can have money on your continent and broke as dirt in the United States. It just depends on the economy and how things are priced. Now, it came to pass. He says now in verse 4, we're in verse 4. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand, but here is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner of common. Yeah, they've taken baths, ponds, streams, wherever they took a bath at. And plus, running from Saul, the young men that were with him, plainly, hadn't been with no women, hadn't been with their wives, no. And the bread is in a manner common. Yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him the hallowed bread, and there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the I am, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Now, the showbread is holy, but the fact is that is God unmerciful when somebody's hungry that bread can't go to them? God don't need us to feed him. Now, a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the I am, and his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. Now, these are cousins to the children of Jacob. They're cousins. Yes, they are. And David said unto Ahimelech, and is there not here under thine hand spear or sword? For I have neither brought nor my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business is required haste. And the priest said, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that, take it. It's yours. You the one want it. For there is no other save that here. And David said, there is none like that. Give it me. And David rose and fled that day for fear of Saul. Not that David could not defeat Saul, but because still Saul was anointed king over Israel. David wasn't yet appointed yet. Although he was anointed, he wasn't appointed. Now, And David rose and fled that day for fear of Saul and went to Achish, the king of Gath. Have you noticed that nothing here that points out to the kings of and the prophets of the Most High points to any man appointing any prophet, or as the prophet is appointed to appoint a king? Now this comes straight from the Most High. He anointed and appointed Samuel as a judge, prophet over the Most High, over the children of Israel. What he says comes from God, and God, he approved of him through the things that God had done by Samuel. This is a true prophet will be approved of the Most High in many ways. Not just because his office is because, it's not because, should I say, of his prophecies, writing in a book and said this is going to happen. No, that's not it. But the fact is, through signs, miracles, and wonders, God's going to do some things through the prophet. And number two, most prophets are alone. Some of them have wives, most of them didn't. But the power of the Most High was with them. They were not afraid because the heavenly host around them, the heavenly host entertaining them, the heavenly host talking, even relaying unto them what the Most High has said. And when they speak a thing, it comes to pass. And God shows forth not only by his presence upon them, but also by his word. And they respect the prophet because the prophet was the one that appointed and anointed. Yes, he did those things. And that was that was supernatural. And the people just somehow knew this is it. This is the one God is talking about. This is the one God has appointed and anointed. Now, here we go again. He says, now a certain man of the servants of Saul, was there that day and detained before the I am, and his name was Doeg. Okay, we said that, verse 9. And the priest said, verse 10. And David rose and fled that day for fear of Saul and went to Achish, king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, is not this David the king of the land? Did not they sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And David laid up these words in his heart, and was so afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before him, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. And said Achish unto his servants, lo, ye see the man is mad. Wherefore then have ye brought him to me? I have need of a madman, then ye have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence. Shall this fellow come into my house? Now we know that Achish, he knew David to be a valiant man. In some instances with people that you have to do with, in order to save yourself or hide your intentions, you have to play like you just don't know. You're just plain old crazy. That's what David did. In other words, to save himself and to cause this man to think that David was defeated. Sometimes it's better to be alone and think that you can't get a mate or nothing like that. Or sometimes it's good to just ride a bike or walk where you got to go. Just test people to see who really are your friends, who really loves you. Because when you have nothing, a friend's going to be there regardless. But when you have everything, many friends will be there, and they are not going to. And once you lose it, they're gone too. Know those that are friendly with you. And with this, we're going to stop right here, period. We're going to say peace.
Walk with me.